The room went quiet. Not the respectful kind. The awkward kind. The kind where people glance at you, then quickly look away. Try not to laugh. My cousin Mark leaned back in his chair, a slow smirk on his face. "You," he said. "You think Dad left something important to you?" A few people chuckled. My aunt covered her mouth, pretending to hide a smile. And just like that, in the middle of my father's memorial gathering, I became the joke in the room. I stayed calm. That was something my father taught me. Never react too fast. Let people show you who they are. So I simply nodded. Then I said quietly, I didn't say it was important. I just said, I found something. My father passed away 2 weeks earlier. His house sits on the edge of a small town in Oregon. Tall pine trees surround the property. The air smells like rain, and with smoke. Morning there feels slow, peaceful. That's why my father loved it. And that's why he spent most of his time in the garage. That garage was his world. Tools lined the walls, with shavings covered the floor. An old radio usually played soft country music. When I was a kid, he would let me sit on a stool in the corner while he worked. Sometimes he built birdhouses, sometimes shelves, and sometimes nothing at all. We just sat there, quiet, together. But to the rest of the family, I was always the quiet one, the one who moved away, the one who never cared about the family business. My father owned several rental properties in town. My cousins worked with him. My uncle handled the finances. They believed they knew exactly how everything would be divided. And in their minds, I wasn't part of that picture. The memorial gathering was in the living room. People stood around with coffee cups, speaking softly, sharing stories. But every time someone mentioned the estate, I felt the same thing. Eyes drifting toward me. Curious, judging, almost amused. Mark spoke again. So what did you find? He asked. An old hammer? A few people laughed. I smiled politely. Actually, I said, a lockbox. That got their attention. My uncle frowned. A lockbox. Yes, in the garage. Hidden under the workbench. Now the room went quiet again, but this time, for a different reason. That garage had been cleaned many times. Everyone had looked through it before, yet no one ever mentioned a box. My aunt crossed her arms. And you're saying you found it now? Yes. Mark laughed. Maybe it's just old nails. Someone else said, or fishing gear. Another voice joked. Maybe Dad's secret cookie stash. The jokes kept coming, but I stayed quiet, because the truth was, I hadn't opened the box. 3 days earlier, I went to the house alone. The estate lawyer asked me to gather some personal items before the inventory started. So I walked through the empty house. Everything felt strange. My father's chair still sat by the window. His mug was still on the kitchen counter. Everything looked normal, except he wasn't there anymore. Eventually, I stepped into the garage. Dust floated through the sunlight. His tools hung exactly where he left them. For a moment, I could almost hear the radio playing again. I started cleaning small things, sorting screws, stacking wood, just keeping my hands busy. That's when I noticed something strange. The workbench looked uneven, just slightly raised on one side, only a few inches, but enough to catch my eye. I knelt down. There was a loose plank underneath. When I pulled it back, I saw it. A metal box. Old, heavy, locked. At first I thought it was just a tool case, but when I lifted it, I understood something. My father had hidden it there, very carefully, very intentionally. I sat on the garage floor, holding that box, for a long time, thinking, why hide it? Why never mention it? And why was I the one who found it? Back in the living room, the conversation continued. Mark leaned forward. So open it, he said. I shook my head. I can't. Why not? It's locked. He rolled his eyes. Then break it. Before I could answer, someone else spoke. Maybe we shouldn't. It was Sarah, my father's neighbor. She stood quietly near the doorway. Unlike the others, she wasn't smiling. She looked thoughtful. Sarah had known my father for more than 20 years. Every Thanksgiving, she brought him homemade pie. Sometimes she helped him with paperwork too. She understood him in ways most people didn't. She stepped closer. Your dad didn't hide things without a reason, she said softly. The room grew still again. My uncle cleared his throat. Well, we can open it tomorrow. During the estate review, everything should be documented. Then he looked directly at me, and preferably not handled privately. The message was clear. They didn't trust me. They thought I might be exaggerating. Or worse. I nodded. That's fine. I'll bring the box tomorrow. The next morning felt colder. Gray clouds covered the sky. Everyone gathered in the dining room. The estate lawyer sat at the head of the table, a stack of documents in front of him. Behind him stood a projector screen. Everything looked official, serious. The box sat on the table, right in front of me, still locked, still silent, still mysterious. Mark whispered to someone beside him, $10 says it's fishing lures. More quiet laughter. I ignored it. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. Before we review the will, he said, I understand a locked container was discovered in the garage. My uncle nodded quickly. Yes, we should confirm what's inside. The lawyer agreed. Then he looked at me. Would you like to open it? I placed a small key on the table. The room gasped. You had the key. Mark said, yes. Where did you get it? I paused, then answered calmly, in my father's desk drawer. That changed the mood instantly, because everyone knew something. My father kept that drawer locked, and he always carried the key himself. I unlocked the box slowly. The metal lid creaked open. Inside were several envelopes and a small flash drive. Mark leaned forward. That's it. The lawyer picked up the drive. What's on this? I don't know, I said, but there's a note. I handed him the folded paper. He read it quietly. Then his expression changed. He looked up. This message is addressed to the entire family. He plugged the flash drive into the laptop. The projector turned on. The screen lit up. A video appeared. My father sat in his workshop chair. The garage behind him. The same tools. The same walls. The room froze. He looked older in the video, but his eyes were clear, sharp, focused. Hello, he said. If you're watching this, it means I'm gone. And it means someone found the box. He paused, then smiled slightly. And if I know my family, there's probably an argument happening right now. A few nervous laughs filled the room. Then his voice grew calmer, more serious. I hid this box because there are things I never said out loud. Things people needed to hear. Without interruption, he looked straight into the camera. My family always believed the business was the most important thing. The properties, the money, the numbers. But that was never the real legacy. He leaned back slightly. The real legacy was character, patience, respect. The room was completely silent. Then he said something that made people shift in their seats. Some of you believe my quiet son didn't care about the family. Because he moved away. Because he didn't work in the business. My chest tightened. But what you didn't know, he lifted a folder, was that he helped me every single year. Gasps spread across the room. He managed repairs. He handled tenant problems. He sent reports. All from across the country. People slowly turned to look at me. I trusted him, my father continued, because he never asked for attention. He never asked for control. He simply helped. Because he cared. The video paused. The lawyer opened one of the envelopes. Inside was a document. Signed. Notarized. Official. The lawyer cleared his throat. This document confirms that Mr. Reynolds transferred ownership of the rental portfolio. He looked at me. To his son. Shock filled the room. Mark whispered, That's impossible. But the lawyer shook his head. No, it's completely valid. Effective immediately. The video resumed. My father smiled gently to the rest of my family. I hope this doesn't create anger. It wasn't about choosing favorites. It was about trust. He paused, then added quietly, Respect isn't loud. Integrity doesn't brag. And the people who do the most work are often the ones nobody notices. The screen went black. No one spoke. Finally, the lawyer looked at me. Would you like to say something? I stood slowly. Every eye in the room followed me. I never wanted this to be a surprise, I said calmly. I simply respected my father's wishes. I looked around the room, at my cousins, my uncle, everyone who once believed I didn't belong. My dad taught me something important. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned. Quietly, over time. I took a breath. And today, I hope we remember something. His real legacy wasn't property. It was how we treat each other. The room stayed silent, but something had changed. The laughter was gone. The smirks were gone. And for the first time, people looked at me differently. Not with pity, not with amusement, but with understanding. Later that afternoon, I returned to the garage. The same quiet space. The same scent of wood. I sat on the old stool. The one where I used to watch my father work. The locked box rested on the workbench. Empty now. but its message had already done its job. In that moment, I understood something. My father didn't hide the box to create drama. He hid it to reveal truth. Because sometimes, people only listen when the truth arrives unexpectedly. And sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one who was trusted the most all along. I looked around the garage one last time. Then I turned off the light. If this story resonated with you, let me know where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.